Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support.
Yeah. Welcome to the 30-minute reviews year in review for 2024. I am Adam,
I'm Peter.
and we have a few things to go through here. So first off, if there's any issues with the audio, that's because I do not have my usual mic or my usual headphones. That is on me. I'll try to fix it in post before the episode goes up. That's not going to be too much of an issue. But if there is an issue, that's why. So first, let's talk about last year's movie draft because I have the results here.
Oh yeah, that's I try not to guess basically, so I'm interested to see.
Okay, so let's go through with the number one pick. You picked Dune Part 2. You
Hmm.
guessed it would have an 88 Metacritic. It was actually
Yes,
at 79. The
that's
Metacritic score was 89.75 points, and your box office was 71.18 because it did $711 million at the box
nice.
office, which was a lot higher than I thought it was going to. Um, Deadpool
Yeah,
3.
a lot of people didn't. I thought a lot of people weren't going to see it because they were disappointed in the first one.
Yeah, I think what happened was a lot of people heard the first one was good and then waited to see the second one and then went back to see the first one.
Yeah, I do. I knew a lot of people that only saw part two, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
hey, that was pretty good."
Which is probably the better way to do it if you're someone who's relatively new to this. You don't want to like.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the better way to do it. Mine was Deadpool and Wolverine with the number one pick. I picked 82 Metacritic. I was off by quite a bit. The actual Metacritic was 56, and the box office score was 100 because it grossed over $1 billion. With the number two pick, I'll say this is the first of a few questionable picks you made. You picked If, and guessed it would get a 70 on Metacritic. Now I liked If. I did not
a
hate
lot
it.
of people did not.
I know, I was in the minority on this. It got a 46 on Metacritic, and it only made 185 million, so that's 18.5 points. On the other hand, I picked Furiosa next, which I picked it would have a 91 Metacritic. I was off. I had 79 on Metacritic, and it grossed less than If, with 172 million. Who would have thought that doing that would be would like a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road a decade later would not
Mhm.
be well received. Um, your next one was Despicable Me 4,
Yeah,
which you guessed the Metacritic spot on. You guessed 52, it was 52, which gave you 104.
perfect.
And then it grossed $888 million at the box office for 88.88 points. I picked Wicked Part 1. This is the closest I got to getting anything right. I picked 78. It was actually 73 for 109 points. And then the box office score was 73.92 because we cut it off at the end of the day on New Year's Eve. So
Mhm.
then your next one was Mean Girls, the musical remake, um, which was it made 100, and you picked it would be a 68. It was actually a 58. It was 72.5 points for Metacritic, 10.44 points in the box office because it made 104 million. My next one was Kung Fu Panda 4, which I missed the Metacritic bonus by 1 point. I picked it to be 65. It was actually 54, and it grossed $546 million in the box office. Your last pick was Nosferatu, with an 85 Metacritic, was your pick. It actually was at 78 for 97.5. And then because again, and this is why I told you before we did it this year, don't pick Avatar when we do the this year's draft, because it
Mhm.
cuts off at midnight. It only had $48 million.
Oh yeah, that's where I messed up then.
So you got 4.83 points on that.
Mhm.
My alternate pick, yeah, my alternate pick was Joker Folie à Deux. I had higher hopes for it than I guess most people because I picked it would have a 65 Metacritic. I was wrong.
Mhm.
Um, it was actually 45, and it only made 206 million. You had Sonic 3 as your alternative. You thought it would be a 37 Metacritic. It actually was 58, and it did 210 million dollars. So the final scores were you had 612 points, 612.58 points. I had 707.29 points. And that's because I don't think either of us thought Inside Out 2 would do over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Moana 2. I think that was like last year, neither of us picked Barbie, and that was the big surprise that it did over a billion. Moana 2 also did over a billion.
Yeah. For me, it was the I
Nosferatu.
tried to no, well, Nosferatu, I guess I had higher hopes for, or like a higher opening weekend or something. The If was like I'll pick things because Dune 2, obviously, I was like attached to, or
Yeah.
like I wanted it to do well. I was like, I'll pick something I wouldn't see that I
Yeah.
think will do good, and then that just backfired.
When I saw If, my first thought was like, this is a movie that's going to do absolutely abysmally in theaters. But if this came, like, if I was a kid and this was on VHS or DVD, it'd be one of my absolute favorite movies as a kid.
Mhm.
Like, it would have that second life as a VHS or like a cult classic like that. Um, so before we get into the top 10, do you have any other superlatives or honorable mentions you want to give out?
No, I usually, if a movie pisses me off enough, I usually will create a superlative for it.
Yeah,
But I
most
feel like
people
this
do.
year, I haven't seen anything that like angered me that much.
Oh, I got two.
Actually, I'll say one thing. The most recent season of British Bake Off infuriated me.
I have not. I've
The
seen part of one season. Um,
so they like they have like challenges or whatever.
mhm.
And on the penultimate episode of this season, it was like they had to bake 10 of something. And there was four people left, and then it goes into a final three for the last episode. And there was this one kid that was like he was very good and he was like a front runner the whole season, but he fucked up the last thing and only made nine of the thing instead of 10, which I think that should be an automatic. You failed this task then because you couldn't
Well, it'd be like on
do it.
Chopped if you didn't use the secret ingredients or any.
Exactly. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how good it is. It's like you did not. That's like the first step. Is you have to complete the assignment, and
Right,
then you get judged to compare. So
right.
he didn't complete it, and then they were just like, "Well, he is pretty good, and we think it will be better for him to be in the final." So then they kicked off another lady that did complete the task, and he stayed on. So
Is it
I didn't
better
watch
for
the last
ratings, you
episode.
think?
Well, the whole like there's literally a scene where the one of the judges went up to him and was just like, "You remind me of me when I was a young baker,"
Ah, there you
and I was
go.
like, "Okay, well, he's going to the final."
That explains it.
Yeah,
Um,
so I would yeah that annoyed me a lot, but other than that, nothing really pissed me off.
yeah. I have. Well, I'm gonna do my series of the year because I didn't put TV shows in my top 10. You did, so I figured your whatever your highest ranked TV show is gonna be your series of the year.
Mhm.
But that's in the top 10. Mine is The Acolyte. I think The Acolyte is the first attempt in a long time for Star Wars to try and get outside the bubble that we've seen them in forever, where it's like it feels
Mm.
like everything is kind of centered around the original trilogy. This we're going way back. We're trying something new. Um, I liked the story of having these twins who were, um, one was already starting to turn to the dark side, and the other one was a former Jedi, and the two of them swapping roles as the show goes on. And as they're exposed to the other side, it's a really interesting look at light and dark, especially considering the guy who is the Sith stranger. I don't think they call him a master. He's like, he's you know the teacher, but he's not really a master. He doesn't call himself a Sith. He's just an acolyte of the dark side.
Mm.
And it's a really interesting, look at that. We get to see Darth Plagueis in live action for the first time. Like this was, I think, the best Star Wars show that I've seen since Andor. I think it got a lot of negative press from some of the more aggressive Star Wars fans, before it came out and before because I would say I'm more well versed in the lore of Star Wars than most people. I think that's a fair way to
Mm.
assess how I am. I don't recall anywhere in there that it's confirmed that Anakin is the first one who was born of dark Sith magic.
Mm.
I don't think that's ever anywhere in there. It's just like there will be a child who is of abnormal strength who will do that, like who is born of the Force who will do that. Like that's the prophecy or whatever. But like I don't think it's ever implied that he's the first or the only, and that it can never happen before or again. And I think it makes sense for Palpatine to have sought out these people who have done it in the past. Like
Yeah.
that's one of those things that's like, oh, that makes sense. That it's like that's what it is. Um and I like the idea of like these Force virgins is that like it does a lot to really build out the world in a way that really we haven't seen in some
Yeah.
of the more mythological sense. But people got pissed off that it contradicted a CD ROM
Yadi
game from Honey
Bring
Nut
that.
Cheerios box 25 years ago. So needless to say, it is the first official Star Wars show to get canceled. Like
Mm.
it's the first Star Wars TV show to actually get canceled and not just reach the end of its run and it's not get picked up. It's the first one to be like, we're canceling it. We're not doing any more of this.
Mm.
Like,
Well, for me, wasn't the budget huge too, or maybe that was just
see,
people
that's
just
the thing too.
shitting on it?
I think within the next, by the end of the decade, we're going to be in for a streaming reckoning because a lot of these
Mm.
shows are just way too expensive. And then what's the return on that investment?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, I'd be interested to see what the budget was for the first season of True Detective versus
oh, that had to
this
be
show.
like that. Like, True Detective season one. If they were doing more than I would say 5 million an episode. Like I think that even that's a high estimate, especially considering when
Mm.
it came out. Like they're not like that's I don't recall there being anything heavy effects or anything like that or anything that would drive.
No, maybe just the end, but yeah, other than that. Yeah, I imagine just using lightsabers is very expensive.
I would say that's probably the cheapest. I think it's the full CGI environments, the full
Mm.
CGI creatures and stuff like that. Like I think this show had a budget of around like 50 million an episode or something like that. It was an obscenely high budget, but that's just all the Star Wars shows have that obscenely high budget.
Hmm.
Like it's not like Skeleton Crew is any cheaper or like any of the Marvel shows are any cheap. Like Agatha All Along
Yeah.
was, expensive. Um, do you have a game of the year or
Actually, no. I'm trying to, because yeah, the only one. Yeah, yeah, no, I have no for 2024. I feel like, yeah, I don't think I bought any new games on
yeah,
2024. I literally just, I was just replaying Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
I have Stardew Valley 1.6 is my game of the year. It was a free update, but it was if we're gonna go by the rules of the Game Awards, it is eligible.
Yeah.
Because DLC is eligible. And this is free DLC that effectively doubled the size of the game, completely for free 10 years after the game came out. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the game of the year. Um, I have two disappointments. First, I don't want to say disappointment because I feel like I didn't have expectations going into it, especially as we found out more and more about the movie. Um, I'm giving the Tommy Wiseau Excellence in Screenwriting Award to Joker Folie à Deux. because that script is absolutely nonsensical. It is like even down to the fact that at one point Lady Gaga um is pregnant and then it's never addressed again
Mhm.
with
Well, I guess could they just be like, well, that was his fantasy.
no, they can't because they were very specific about that in the movie that
Uh,
none of it's his fantasy, it's all real life.
oh, okay. Yeah.
That was the thing about the first movie where it's like the first movie kind of works because you don't know how much of it is real. Very
Yeah.
early in the second one, they contradict that and they're like, no, it's all real. Everything that happened is real. And it's like, but a lot of the things that are plot conveniency, you can kind of just explain away. But they contradicted that here. Then there's things like if okay, there's no rules of decorum about a detective about a not a detective, a defendant representing themselves in court. They can dress
Mhm.
however they want. That's what they establish. That said, if
When he wears makeup.
yes, if someone's on trial for murder while wearing a specific costume, and he is then cross-examining the guy who witnessed said murder in person while he was wearing said costume, I feel like that's a form of witness intimidation that the judge should have been like, no, you can't wear that while you cross-examine this guy. Like, that was one problem. There was another problem where it's like Lady Gaga is in Arkham not as a what's it called? Not as a what's the one for here? Like not as an inmate. Like she was not arrested and put in Arkham. She's just kind of I think the thing dropped.
Yeah, that's for me. You froze it's for a
Yeah.
second.
At one point, like when we're introduced to what's her name? When we're introduced to her, we're meant to show what's it called? We're meant to see that she's an inmate in Arkham, same as Arthur,
Mhm.
but not really because she is there on her own accord in a separate minimum security wing with other inmates that Arthur has to walk through to get to where he meets with his attorney. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that doesn't feel like what a legitimate thing would do. Then it's like he gets to the point where he gets into the music class with her and he meets her that way. And it's like, I feel like if he's in the maximum security wing, they probably don't do that and only send one guard down with him. And then she starts a fire in there, and then they release her on her own accord.
Yeah, they're just like, all right, well,
Yeah, well,
you go start a
obviously you don't
fire
need to talk
somewhere
anymore, so
else.
just
Yeah.
get out. Arthur gets blamed and put in solitary confinement, but she finds her way into solitary confinement, and that's where they consummate and have the kid. And it's like, but I don't think you understand what solitary confinement is if you can just have this random woman walk down into solitary confinement. Like that, the whole thing is just stupid. So congratulations, Joker, for that. And then
At
I
least
have
they set up they took a music class, so then it's like, oh, okay, this is why it's a musical.
no, but not even
Oh,
because the
okay.
musical part happens before that.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's out of the gate like that. Then the other award I have is the Zack Snyder Film for Geniuses Award, which I'm giving to Megalopolis, which is clearly, look, I don't know who this Francis Ford Coppola guy is. I hope his film career takes off. He seems to have a lot of really big ideas, and hopefully he can finally get a movie with a legitimate budget. And he didn't spend 10 years of his life trying to make this or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
And
like,
bankrupt his vineyard.
yeah, bankrupt his vineyard, start selling sketchy NFTs. I mean, hopefully he didn't go to any of those lengths, but clearly he had something he wanted to say about the Trump administration. Like, it's very clear that he had things he wanted to say about the Trump administration, and he had a lot of things he wanted to say about the Trump administration, and they all came out in this movie. It's not always clear. It doesn't always make sense, but you know what? Maybe we're just too stupid and we just don't understand it.
But I'm
Uh,
assuming it's very subtle and
Oh
uh
yeah, yeah, it's subtle. Yeah. At one point, Grace VanderWaal, the singer, plays this singer in the movie whose entire thing is that for donations she will remain a virgin. It is the most
oh my God.
and again, I get what you're going for. If it's like the Martha, like the entire movie is just the Martha scene, where it's like I see what you're going for. I get the
Mhm.
point you're trying to make. You're just not doing it right.
Yeah.
Like and there's a better way to do this. So now For the top 10, I took the two lists, put them together, same as I always do. You give me your top 10, I take my top 10. The number one gets 10 points, number two gets nine, all the way down to 10
Yeah.
getting one. We only had one in common this year, which I was surprised about. I thought we would have a few in common. Um, but what I did was the order we're going to alternate is kind of set based on what the because there's at least one point in this where it makes sense to just have one of us talk and just continue talking about the next one in the sequence. And I think
Mhm.
you know exactly what I'm talking about because you're the one who put the list that way. Um,
Yeah.
so so we're gonna start. You let's start with your number 10. What was
Okay.
your number 10?
My number 10 was Godzilla by Kong, I guess times
Godzilla
Kong
and Kong.
and Kong.
Yeah.
This
Fan fiction means they're fucking so.
yeah. It was just a fun, I guess, action movie. I also watched Godzilla minus one this year, and that's definitely a better movie, but
Yeah.
that didn't come out this year, so I picked Godzilla and Kong.
Mhm.
It is just fun seeing how the movie changes from the first Godzilla movie into this one, where now they're flying cars and going into the center of the earth.
Yeah. It just Hollow
Um,
Earth is just a thing that we all just live with now.
yeah, and yeah, everyone's just like open or fine with that. And but it was like the evil monkeys and the skeletons of like the other Kongs and then Baby Kong and just setting up all that stuff was fun. I think they did a good job balancing the human stories of just not knowing that no one really cares about the human parts of the
Yeah.
movies. So
Did a good
just
job.
blow past those.
Yeah, the only reason this didn't make my list is because I love this movie. I saw it in the theater one and a half times. And what ended up happening was I there are a solid amount of things that they do with Godzilla in this movie that could have been done in his own solo movie, but at the same time, it's like they just don't do that. Like it's all based on, it's all. I think it's going out again. But it's like my wireless is working fine. But it's like I let's see what happens here. Like the first one he fights Tiamat should have been its own. What's it called? Should have been its own. I don't think it's me. I don't know what's going on there. But either way, it's like what I was saying was, there were enough things in that movie that I was kind of like, that feels like a weird thing that would have been better served by Godzilla doing it himself. Like Godzilla fighting Tiamat, which is kind of the same thing, but powered by solar radiation.
Hmm.
Like, or the ice version of Godzilla, that giant other thing. Both of those could have been their own movies with Godzilla dealing with that.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess because the Kong is like they established Kong can speak, I guess, or communicate more, so they're making him like the protagonist, and I guess they're treating Godzilla more like a force of nature and just kind of like this.
Well, I think it
I
was
guess
a scheduling
like
issue. I think Godzilla was too busy shooting Minus One, his little indie A24 movie, and then he had to come.
yeah.
And, he came in and did a little bit here. That's what it
I
kind
do like I like Godzilla minus one's blast or laser beam better
of.
than the other one because it's like a nuclear explosion every time.
Yeah, like my only thing was like, how did that girl survive that?
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like that's not how that works. But with this movie, there were so many great moments. Like, I don't know where a suplex comes in evolutionarily
Hmm.
into the self-defense matrix of an animal, but that happens in this movie when Godzilla just fucking suplexes Kong or vice versa. Like that was something that I was like, this is great. Like it's just fun. It's a good fun monster movie. Um, yeah. But yeah, I like that movie too. My number 10 was Conclave. Um, which if you don't know what Conclave is,
Oh yeah, that was the Pope one, right?
yeah, where it's like the Pope's dead, and now Rafe Fiennes is like the dean of the College of the Cardinals, and he has to find the new Pope. He has to run the conclave to get the new Pope. But there's
Hmm.
a bunch of fucked up shit happening all around them as it's happening.
Hmm.
I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, because I think a lot of the twists are better discovered as you watch the movie and let the movie unfold for itself. Because it's one of those things where it's like all of these people who want the papacy are all kind of terrible people in their own
Yeah.
way. Um, and it leads to some. It is an acting clinic.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, Conclave was really good. I really enjoyed Conclave. Um, your number nine was a TV show that I have never heard of before.
Oh yeah, Tires. This is it's on Netflix. It's Shane Gillis's, I guess, like sitcom.
Oh, okay.
So it's if it has, I guess you can just listen to it, but it has this person that was his like childhood friend that used to be on his podcast all the time. That in real life his dad runs mechanic shops and he tried to take over the business and it has completely failed. So it's basically a TV version of that where he's trying to run a mechanic shop and then all the decisions he makes is just the wrong decision and he's just running the family business into the ground.
Hmm.
So it's a great show. It's just nice. It's like nice, simple. Like each episode, it's not some continuous story. Like each episode is just its own contained story.
Oh, it's like a
And
traditional sitcom, then not like
yeah, and it is very funny. The yeah, it's just like and it all takes place in Pennsylvania too. So you live in the Northeast. It's very regional. Like there's like an Italian mechanic shop next door, and they all hate the Italians. So it's funny to see that.
yeah. I hadn't. This happens every year with at least one of your picks. It's something that I've never heard of before, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I thought it was to be horror related. Uh,
Nope.
my first thought was like, what was that movie with the haunted tire that was fucking the
Oh yeah. Oh fuck, I forgot what that one's called. It might just be called Tire.
yeah. I was like, did they make a TV show of that? Um,
Rubber. That's the one
that's
about
it.
the
Yeah.
that movie. That's a good movie too.
But yeah, yeah, I might check that out because I have been trying to get more into comedies lately.
Mm.
Um, that new one with Kiki Palmer looks pretty funny. The new sh movie that she has coming out with SZA.
I don't think I've seen that one or a
Yeah,
trailer for that one.
it's
But
one of the days it's called. It looks pretty funny.
I barely see trailers now anyway.
Uh yeah, when my car is not dead, I go to the movies quite a bit. So I see those a lot. My number nine was apparently a controversial choice, and I did not know this until it won several Golden Globes and people were shitting on it for that. Amelia Perez, which I did not know was a musical when I turned it on. It is a musical about he's a drug lord in Mexico who has a sex change and becomes a woman and completely changes her life
Mhm.
and goes complete 180. Um, Even Selena Gomez is not bad in it. Zoe Saldana is fantastic. And I didn't know she could sing. Um, but it's a musical. And I think that that's kind of what a lot of people are bumping up against. I mean, besides the whole transgender thing, which is, you know, aside from the cult, I think that it just went out again. Um, like aside from the whole culture war aspect of it, I think that it is, you know, it like aside from the culture war aspect, it goes into it's the whole issue of number one. I reset my phone that time, so
Yeah,
that
it
way
gave me a warning that you had low bandwidth.
that I had low bandwidth. I restarted my phone, so hopefully that solves the problem.
Yeah,
Uh
you're in the yellow.
oh, but I think it's fixed now. My fast.com reading is reading, and this never happened. I don't know what the fuck's going on today. Yeah, my fast.com is reading 10 megabits per second. All right, so we should be fine. I don't know why it's giving me an issue. But with Amelia Perez, it's like aside from the culture war aspect, I think there was an issue with a lot of people didn't think there was specific cultural specificity with Mexico.
Hmm.
Which was something that like, okay, I get that, and but I can't speak to that either. The other issue was I think the musical mixed with the subject matter is a little bit jarring for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Um,
because I what you how you were talking about it, and I looked it up, and it describes it as a musical crime comedy film.
yeah, it it's tonally all over the place. But like it's kind of like Bottoms in that way, where it's like once you learn how to watch the movie, you're
Hmm.
kind of good. Like it's a movie you have to learn to watch while you're watching it.
Yeah, those are gonna be at least like more interesting too, because it's just
Yeah.
not the same like formula
Yeah,
again.
it takes a while to get used to it. Um, so that was my number nine. I'm gonna do my number eight because your number eight and number seven go together. So we'll just do those
Yep.
back to back. So my number nine and number eight is Seeking Mavis Beacon, which is a documentary that I
Oh
saw
yeah,
out of
documentary.
Sundance last year, but makes the list because it did come out wide later this year. It is a documentary about these two women trying to find the model who was on the cover of Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing. Um, and it's the story of the of like what happened to this woman, what happened with the history of making that game, what the impact of that game was on the Black community, seeing this woman in that role, because that
Hmm.
woman was not the real Mavis Beacon. Um, like that was just she was a perfume saleswoman at Macy's. That they were like, "Hey, do you want to be the cover model for the for this video game?"
Hmm.
And then there was a dispute over like one of the covers later on, which used her image but with a weird filter, and she was like, "I don't want to be involved in this anymore."
Hmm.
So they just stopped paying her.
But then they could still use her
Yep.
likeness
Yep.
because oh wow. I
So
used yeah, I had to use Mavis Beacon when I was in middle school, I think.
yeah, I had no idea that that wasn't her until I saw this documentary, and I was like, "Oh, that's." And it's really interesting. I like this new style of documentary that's coming out. And I don't want to say it's Michael Moore doing it, who kind of like started this. I don't want to give him that much credit, but like this idea of like the filmmakers are an active role in it, because like
Hmm.
the way he is in it, he's kind of like a, he is the storyteller of like the narrator kind of. They
Yeah.
are an active part of the investigation. This feels more like a true crime kind of thing than it is
Hmm.
a history of a video game kind of thing. And I really enjoyed this movie. Um, check it. I don't know what streaming service it's on, but it's worth checking out.
Hmm.
Um, so you're eight and seven. I have not seen either, but I did not know they were on.
Oh yes.
Um,
Yes, so the reason I'll got you give a little why I was gonna put them together as one movie, but then the other one I would have had to pick because I hadn't seen that many movies this year was Night Swim, which was the horror movie about the haunted swimming pool.
oh, and you didn't want to put that on the list.
And that one was so bad, I'd rather just split it between them because just for Night Swim, the problem is it wasn't just a stupid, fun little horror movie about a haunted swimming pool. Most of the movie is just an exposition dump about the history of the haunted swimming pool, which in those types of movies is so boring that I hate it so much because
You
it's
could have
never.
put Sonic 3 on the list.
I still haven't seen Sonic 3,
Oh, okay. I thought you did
but
see.
no, I do want to because I just finished playing Sonic Adventure 2. I'm just gonna see it again after I watch Sonic 3 or see it after I finish the game. But I'm assuming that would actually knock off one of the Watchmens if I did that. But HBO or DC, they actually finally someone made just an exact comic like edition of Watchmen where it is just literally like page for page the exact comic book or graphic novel um, for a movie. The second part's definitely better because just more stuff happens and you get the ending and everything.
That
But
tends to
the
be the case whenever they split it up into
yeah.
parts.
But the first one is good. You don't get some of the supplemental stuff like in the graphic novel. You get all the extra like pages and like other books that are into it, so you get more background. I my critique of it is that the animation style sometimes is very like stilted or like stiff, and it does sometimes just look like you're staring at not like a still image with people talking over it.
Mhm.
But they use like this. I forget they use this new like computer graphics like thing to animate it, and so sometimes that doesn't work out. But all the Rorschach stuff is cool, and yeah, and for me it was fun to watch because like I've never seen this like Watchmen actually told because the only one is Zack Snyder. The Watchmen show at least has the giant squid like mentioned and stuff like that sequel show they
Oh
made.
yeah, they had the little squids that would it would
Yeah, because I was like it was a direct sequel to the novel and not to
yeah.
the Zack
That show was
Snyder
really good.
movie. Yeah, that one it's a very good show, but I don't think it's a good Watchmen show
Mhm.
because I don't think but yeah, we can talk about it another time. But I don't think it has like knew what the message of Watchmen was.
Right. Um, I do like the DC animated stuff. I just finished Creature Commandos, which I have some things with that I'm not overly thrilled about, but Creature Commandos was fine. I think that that's just the way the DC animated stuff looks. Is it's just, I think they're doing like the 3D animated 2D is what they're doing now.
That's what it is.
And it doesn't always look good, and it's kind of hit or miss because like even What If
Mhm.
was like that, and it's not a great art style a lot of the time. But I will be watching Watchmen. I forgot that it was coming out this year. And you can thank me for it coming out because every time I would buy the DVD of the other ones, they would always give you a little survey because they figured if you were the one buying the DVD, you'd be more likely to buy the DVD of what you want. And every
Yeah.
time they asked which one do you want us to do next, I would say Watchmen. So
Mhm.
you're welcome, America. That's on me. Um, my number seven was Inside Out 2, um, which I did not go into expecting to like as much as I did. I love the way they portray an anxiety attack in the movie, and the way that like they deal with the oncoming of adolescent emotions, um, like and how they have to deal with that and kind of cope with it. It's
Mhm.
not higher because I don't like the way they deal. Like they introduce the concept of the sense of self, which is like your important memories end up in this thing, and it creates these strands that go up to the like the control room, and like it creates this. These are the key things that create your sense of identity. Um, like, and the thing with that I didn't like is that it's like her sense of identity was I'm a good person, which was like
Mhm.
the whole thing. And then it's like all the things that she was kind of hiding and the emotions were like suppressing from her were things that were like, I did this, I did this thing wrong, I was rude to this person, I was rude to this person. And it's like I don't think those things fundamentally contradict that someone was a good person.
Yeah.
Like like
I guess we're getting into like cognitive dissonance
yeah,
theories
it's
and
like
stuff.
that's not really what it is. And it's like
Yeah.
I love the way they like I think that like Maya Hawke's anxiety is just so well characterized because it's like it's the endless what ifing about situations down the line
Yeah, like
that
rumination.
yeah like that it's so well done that I think that it was an easy pick for this. But yeah, I would appreciate I would say everyone should see this movie, but it appears most people have because it made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
um so your number six is next.
Oh yeah, my number six was The Substance, which is it's insane. I think it got nominated for a
Yeah.
comedy or something like that.
Yes,
And
comedy
it
or musical. And then
yeah,
and what's her name won? Demi Moore won.
that's such like I don't know. It's like okay, I guess we can try to get an award for this. It's I feel bad for the other comedy movies that were actually comedies.
Yeah.
And this is clearly a horror movie. Like there's some funny stuff in it. Like Dennis Quaid's character is like this over the top like salesman kind of person, and that's funny,
Mhm.
especially him because he's only in these like weird old man religious movies now. So to
Yeah.
see him in like a
Or
crazy
Reagan.
yeah. So it's like to see him in like a fun like body horror weird movie. That was good. My problem besides the comedy thing, my problem with it is it's a little bit of stunt casting where it's like part of the reason why is that it's good is because it's Demi Moore in
Right.
that like role, and it's like about an aging actress and all that. And I feel like if it was just a random person in it, then it probably wouldn't have been as like big as it
Oh, so
ended up
and
being.
then she being like the younger version of her after she takes it is Margaret Qualley,
Yeah,
who
it's basically this drug that creates like a almost a clone of you, kind of. And it's like cool body horror, like fucked up, like weird. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, like very like intense, like over the top, like colors and like way too the contrast turned up really high during some scenes. But I don't want to spoil it too much because it's like some of it's just like the plot itself is interesting the way it goes. So I definitely recommend seeing it. If you don't like horror movies, it's not really that intense like horror.
I was gonna
So
see it, but I couldn't put it into the schedule. This was not a Nosferatu situation where I was like, I will wait until it's on what's it called? Because that looked really eerie. I was gonna wait till it hits.
actually, I would say this is scarier than Nosferatu. Nosferatu, I don't think is that scary
Oh,
or
okay.
dark at all.
Well, if I get my car back at some point in the near future, I may see
Mhm.
Nosferatu. But either way, I was gonna wait till it hit Peacock. But with the substance, so like, do you think that this would impact her odds at the Academy Awards? Because what we're dealing with is a similar situation to Michael Keaton in Birdman.
Uh,
where he's basically
no.
playing the same kind, like it's him playing himself, kind of.
This isn't. I don't think this is that direct because in Birdman, it's like, oh, he's an aging actor and he was in a superhero movie. She's an aging like actress or a model, but
Mhm.
that's like where the comparisons change. Because
Oh,
obviously, to me, because I would say because Demi Moore, I think, has aged gracefully. I don't think she looks like she's
she
gotten.
aged well.
Yeah, I don't think it's looked. I don't think it looks like she's gotten a bunch of plastic surgery or
No,
like done a bunch of stuff. So I feel like that's the separation where that character in this movie in real life would be the person that's getting constant plastic surgeries
it
because
should
they're
be Joan
obsessed
Rivers.
with yeah, because they're obsessed with looking younger and like
Right,
staying. And they have that's where you get this real cognitive dissonance where you don't realize how or like body more dysmorphia where you don't realize how weird you look and you just keep getting like more and more surgeries.
right. Um, I will eventually watch that. My number six was Civil War. Which is a movie that a year ago we mocked mercilessly because we were like,
Yeah.
"How are you making an apolitical Civil War movie?" And the answer was they didn't. This is a movie that kind of perfectly encapsulates the issue with identity politics
Mhm.
as a thing, where it's like if someone's not directly telling everyone these are the Democrats, these are the Republicans, then it's stupid. Like, who's the bad guy? Who am I rooting for? That's not what this movie's about. At the end of the day, what Civil War is about is how quickly people will dehumanize and vilify the other side.
Mhm.
Like, there's a great scene because it's like, all it is the main group is trying to get to DC to get an interview with the president. Journalists are shot on site in the Capitol. So it's a whole sneaking thing. They're trying to get over there, and they have to go this roundabout way. So they're going through like Pennsylvania, and these two guys are like running a what's it called? They're running like a gas station, and they go around the corner, and there are these two other guys strung up and bleeding, like
Mhm.
in this thing, and it's like, yeah, I went to high school with that guy. Who'd have thought that we'd be here, right? Like it's such a depersonalized way of doing it, that it's really an interesting look that way. And look, it's very clear who's on what side in this movie. Like it's not an unclear situation what political party ascribes to what side. It just requires about 10 seconds of critical thinking, which apparently
Mhm.
no one has, which is why this movie got panned by general audiences. If you have to think too hard, they don't want to see it. Just tell me what to think. This is a
Yeah.
it's a very good movie.
Is that Alex Garland?
Yes,
Yeah, he's doing the new the 28 Years Later movie
yes.
now.
I didn't know this about 28 years later until I saw something about it where it's like apparently the entire rest of the world is fine, but England is completely overrun by zombies.
Oh, I had no idea that was true also. And I've
Yeah, it's
seen the
not the
other
entire
ones.
world, it's just England. The entire rest of the world
Hmm.
just fine.
That drops it down actually. I think that just that just doesn't make I feel like it doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, no, I think because it's happening in England, the only way out of England if you're a zombie is like going through the tunnel
Yeah.
or over a ferry. So it is isolated. Like it doesn't make sense. But I think after 28 years, there'd be like some United States come together and be
Just
like,
like blow up England.
like, why are we dealing with this?
I had to rewatch 28 Days Later now and be like, wait, is it only in England?
Um, but yeah, what was your number five?
Oh, my number five was another horror movie, Terrifier 3, I guess yeah, the clown killer movies.
Which I have not seen any of those movies, but I've heard they get incrementally more gory. And
Yeah, so this one is the second one is the worst one by a lot. The second one's over 2 hours long, and so much of it is like again, like I was talking about, like exposition and background. Like we don't need background and like exposition for a killer clown that's just
yeah,
like a gore fest movie. The first one's the best because there's almost no story at all, and it's just him killing people, and that's it.
hmm
But the gore does get crazier and crazier, and this one the gore is pretty crazy, and that's part of why I like it. Is it's very interesting, and like the special effects are usually it's all like real special effects too, which makes it even more fucked up. Like in the second one, someone gets their skin ripped off, and
Oh,
then he dumps salt and bleach all over their body when they're still alive.
I don't want morbid curiosity. How does it get worse from that? If that's the second one and it got worse from that?
So the third one, a lot more, I guess, more ch child deaths and like
So
just just random killings. I would say again, the problem with the third one is it gets weird, like into too much like backstory and like exposition. But it's at least a little bit different.
right. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna watch that.
Now, if you don't like gore, even if you like horror and you don't like gore, I would not recommend it. It's such a specific type of movie. But I feel like we don't really have those like crazy extreme gore movies anymore. So
no, we don't.
it's nice to
Well, we have
have
Saw.
like
There's a new Saw movie coming out this year.
that's true. Even those, I feel like even like the last few Saw movies, I feel like were not that great in terms of
Hmm.
gore. I haven't seen the newest one, so maybe they'll like have a return to form or something.
Where we're getting into another one where I've rearranged the order so that way we can get a nice conversation going about two that are similar. My number five is Wicked Part One.
Mhm.
Um, although not really. We both had it at number four. It doesn't really matter what order we do it in. But Wicked Part One, I have never seen Wicked or read the books. I went into this with very low expectations. Um, I really like that movie.
Mhm.
And it's one of the things that as I'm sitting there watching it in a crowded theater, in a preview screening, that I was in the lobby and there are people in costume. I'm like, do I just go home? Like, like this is gonna be awful. The guy next to me visibly came during Defying Gravity. Um, but like unlike Star Wars, where the guy was freaking out over Han Solo dying,
Mhm.
this was not something that ruined the experience for me.
Yeah.
Where it's like to this day, I still mock that guy behind his back. Like this was I really enjoyed it. I think they did a great job with the set dressing and just making everything kind of work. Um, I think Ariana Grande, um, how do I put this nicely? If someone told me Ariana Grande was like this in real life, I would not be shocked.
I believe it. Well, even just look at her most recent husband, where
He's in the movie. He plays Bach in the movie.
he was a like Broadway star and had a
Yeah, he played
family.
SpongeBob. He originated SpongeBob in the
And
SpongeBob.
then she wants to be a Broadway star, so she's like, okay, I'll get a Broadway star boyfriend. And then he
Yeah.
left his family to be with Ariana Grande.
Yeah, I don't know if that's,
And she also, I hate her because there's a video of her going into a donut shop and licking a donut and then putting it back like on the counter.
oh yeah, I remember that.
And I
That
will
was like 10
never
years ago at
forget
this
that.
point. But it's like the way she acts in the movie, it's like too effortlessly falls into this role. Like this feels like just her in real life.
Yeah. And the interviews with them are insane. When they're like sobbing, talking about being in Wicked. It's like,
Yeah, the her and Cynthia Erivo both are kind of like I don't know what they were on that press
yeah.
tour, but like, can I get some? Like whatever they were on the good shit on that press tour. But yeah, the movie I really enjoyed the movie. I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to part two.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyone that loves it, I would just ask, what is one song from Act Two of Wicked? And
oh, I
most people cannot answer.
well, I know one because it's the subtitle of the movie. I know "For Good" is the name of a song in Act Two.
Hmm.
Um, but like it's the way the movie ends. I don't need part two. You want me to spoil the ending for you? I mean, you're familiar with Wicked. You've
Oh,
seen
yeah,
it.
I read the book, and then I recently just watched the musical too, like
Yeah.
the actual one.
So the movie ends on defying gravity with her flying out to the west
Yeah,
with
which also that also doesn't make sense because she doesn't live in the castle until way later. So why does she say she's going to the west?
well, either way, it's like she flies out to the west. She's got the herd of flying monkeys with her, and it's like I'm leaving. I'm like, I don't need part two of this because
That's where it also completely in the musical completely falls apart because then you can just fill in the blanks of like what
yeah,
happens
because
next.
it's like the thing is too that the movie opens with Ariana Grande, say like asking what is functionally the thesis of the movie is wicked are you born wicked or is it thrust on you? And it's like, well, there's the answer. We have the answer right here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need a second part to this now. Like, but yeah, I did really like the movie. I think that I think I understand why it's a cultural touchstone for a lot of people. I don't know if part two will be able to replicate that next year, but we'll see. Um, for your number four,
Mhm.
I have not finished this show yet. but I'm going to. And I said that when it made your top five at the mid-year point,
Oh yeah, I forgot about
and I
that.
still have not finished the show.
Yeah, my number four is the Fallout TV show. I never played any of the Fallout games, but so I don't know if that makes or changes people's opinion on it or not. But I really like this TV show. I thought it was very interesting how the story unfolded. There's kind of like three different like stories to kind of explain what's going on in the world. Um, and it was just like interesting how it played out. Like it didn't feel like exposition dumps. It was like, okay, this makes sense for where we are in the story and um yeah, like how the like especially Walton Goggins' character, like why is
Yeah.
he or how is he able to live for like hundreds of years or like be alive during the nuclear bombs and then also alive now. All the vault stuff was funny and the main actress was really good. I forget what her name is.
Ella Purnell.
But yeah, she did a really good job and it was like very funny and also like very interesting too. I think that was like it towed the line very well. I feel like some shows try too hard to be edgy and it just comes off like cringy basically.
Yeah, there's
And
an
then this
earnestness to
one,
this show that works.
yeah. And it's like it people will just randomly die, but it doesn't feel like people are just getting thrown away. Like or it doesn't feel like they're introducing characters just to kill them. Like it makes sense like in the story, like what's going on.
Yeah, I liked what bit I watched of it. I thought it was interesting, and it's like I've never played the games either, but I'm familiar with like the gameplay mechanics of like your general Bethesda RPG.
Hmm.
Because I played Starfield, but like very early on they introduced the idea of encumbrance, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like, um, and I did play the opening of Fallout 4. Um, and then I got bored and stopped. But I will eventually that was I think the best selling point of this was that it got me to want to play the games in a way that very few other movies have besides my number four.
Hmm.
Um, I really appreciated what they did in the little bit that I saw. I will go back and finish watching it because they are doing a season two. Um,
Oh, good. Yeah, I didn't know if it got renewed or not.
yeah, it's filming is currently delayed because of the fires in Los Angeles, but it is in production. Um, my number four was Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And the only reason it's this high, and I think I texted this to you after I saw it, if they could find a way to bottle my video games I loved as a child into a 2 hour experience and release it every 6 months, I will be perfectly content for the rest of my life. Because that's what this was. It's Sonic Adventure 2, just rebottled as a what's it called? Rebottled as a video game. It as a movie. It works so much better than it has any right to. Um, I think that they're doing the smart thing with the Adventure trilogy or duology slash trilogy because I think technically
Sonic Heroes, I think technically is a
it's
sequel, right?
technically three, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Because Metal Sonic is in so Metal Sonic's in a Sonic Adventure,
yeah, if
actually.
you 100% the game, you unlock Metal Sonic.
Yeah. And
Uh,
he's in a tank. There's like a I just played
yes,
Sonic.
you
I just replayed Sonic
in
Adventure.
yeah. Um, and
They
then
should bring that into a movie, especially the city scene when everyone in the city dies. It's like a giant water like tidal wave.
see that's the thing. I think that's what they're building to. That's going to be their end game, I think.
It makes
Like,
sense because that's more of a like a insane event
well,
than
that's the
like
thing
what
too. Is like if you
happens
go
in
back and
Sonic
play those
Adventure
three
2.
games, it's like Adventure feels like the stakes are so much higher than Adventure 2, even though Adventure 2 has the canon. But like
Yeah.
Adventure 2 feels more in line with what you would expect from a Sonic game.
Hmm.
Adventure 1 is just so far out of left field.
There's
It's
time travel.
time travel. There's a
Yeah.
fucking god of destruction. Well, no, time travel I think is gonna play into Sonic 4, the movie.
Hmm.
Because you want me to tell you what the post credit is?
Oh yeah, you can tell me.
It's setting up Sonic CD because it's
I don't even
Sonic
know Sonic
and Amy.
CD.
So if they're setting that up, I think that they're going to be because Sonic CD is the bad guy's Metal Sonic and Amy is introduced in Sonic CD. The big gameplay component of that is time travel.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I guess maybe able to say like the Chaos Emeralds can do that too, or something.
Yeah, but it's I'm like this is I think they do it like the guy who does this Jeff Fowler I think his name is very
Hmm.
clearly a fan. Um, he very clearly loves the franchise and he's doing a great job of it. Um, I'm very happy that we didn't get any more characters in this movie than just Shadow being introduced, which was one of my fears. Like, the internet crapped again. Um, I don't know why it keeps doing that. But I think that the what's it called? The best thing about this movie is just like the entire third act. Just all right. I think it's fixed.
Oh, there it goes.
It's fixed again. Okay. What I was saying was I think the entire selling point in that movie is the entire third act, just being the third act of the video game and just landing entirely that it is this fight between, Sonic and Shadow, and then them
Mhm.
while the fucking theme song plays, just blasting through robots. The only reason it's not higher is the Eggman stuff in the third act breaks that up quite a bit.
Do you think Jim Carrey is a good Eggman?
I like him. Um,
Mhm.
I I think the issue is that like Eggman is not a character who is well defined with let me rephrase it. Not well defined within the games. He's well defined in like the TV shows and stuff, but within the
Mhm.
games he's not super well defined.
No.
And I think that putting him in that role here works because you kind of get kind of a blank slate. And I think him playing him this crazy way, and I think what works too is over the three movies, he becomes more and more insane.
Mhm. That's
Um,
good.
and that descent is kind of fun. And I like the change to the lore of the Chaos Emeralds. I think it works better than the video games.
That you can definitely change that because even in the video games it makes almost no sense.
Yeah,
Even
because
that they're just called emeralds because the emeralds are green and
yeah,
they're all different colors.
but not only that, like in the game, it's like okay, so there are seven Chaos Emeralds, then there is the eighth master
Master.
that
Yeah.
controls them somehow, but it's never really clearly defined. In this, it's like the seven Chaos Emeralds make up the Master Emerald.
That makes much, much more sense.
So like, and when the four of them, when the seven of them are united, they are but you can use the Master Emerald the same way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is a very good movie. I just the issue with the Eggman stuff there is that it's goofy and it breaks up the fight, and then you go back to the fight and it restarts the music, and I'm like, okay, it's diminishing returns at this point. Like you should have just
Mhm.
played through this entirety and moved on. Um, number three for you.
Oh yeah, mine is Nosferatu, the new Eggers movie, which of course because it's him, a lot of people are pissed off, which happens every time he releases a movie
Yeah,
where people go expecting a regular horror movie and they're like, what the fuck? Like what this is too slow. Like this is boring. That's always the one-star reviews.
yeah, exactly. One
Um
person I work with was didn't complain about it. That she's like, yeah, I don't know what people expect at this point.
yeah, it's like it's his style of movie. Like it fits into all his other movies. It's very straightforward, like compared to The Lighthouse and even in Northman, it's a pretty straightforward movie. But of his movies, it's my least favorite, which I had very high expectations going in, and I thought it was going to be a more direct adaptation of the book Dracula, because
Mhm.
the original Nosferatu is Dracula, but they got sued by the Stoker estate
Mhm.
because they just made it without asking. And then they had to change a bunch of details so they wouldn't get sued anymore. So there's all these plot changes from Dracula for that reason. And what he was trying to do is just make a remake of Nosferatu specifically, not of Dracula. And I don't think those like obviously it's famous, but I don't think the plot of Nosferatu is very good. Because there's literally a scene where they find this book that just explains how to kill Dracula. Like they go to this guy's office and he's like he worships Dracula or Count Orlok. And then they're just like, "Oh, good, we found this book." And then they open the book and there's a picture of how to kill Dracula. I was like,
Worked
"Why
out.
would Dracula? Why would he have this book? Like, if he worships him or something?" So,
That's true.
but
That's true.
they got the description right. Like in the book, Dracula's a giant mustache, and he's like this kind of looks like this weird, creepy old man. And they kind of got that right. But he's like rotting too. Um, the Lily Rose Depp was good. There's only one scene where she looks like a robot, but I don't think that's her fault.
Her face.
Because she basically gets possessed and then she starts shaking and walking around the room, but
Mhm.
it looks like a robot malfunctioning walking around the room. But I don't blame her for that. I think because that obviously that was the direction. But
It's hard to do
she was
that, I
very
think.
good.
It's like, I don't know what that would look like, but I guess it's that.
I also think it was a mistake to cast Nicholas Hoult because he was already in a Dracula movie.
Yeah, he was in Renfield.
Yeah, and he just plays the boring guy. Like Jonathan Harker's just like the boring everyman character. So literally you could put anyone in that role and I think it would have been fine, but it's kind of distracting that he's in it. The best part by far is Skarsgård as Count Orlok. His voice is crazy. He does like this weird double talk thing where his like two-toned voice almost as he's speaking, and it's
That's
just
cool.
he's really good at that. Yeah, and like the and Willem Dafoe as Van Helsing is also very good, but he's not Van.
All right, so we were talking about Nosferatu. I think we had just wrapped up Nosferatu, so that worked out.
Yeah.
So my number three was The Wild Robot, which was the animated movie that I thought was going to win Best Animated Feature this year, but I don't think it's going to. I think Flow is going to be the first indie movie to do that. The Wild Robot is this robot from humans in this like containment thing. They use these robots to complete tasks for them. This
Mhm.
robot falls off a freighter and ends up in on this island where it ends up accidentally killing a bird. Um, and then it saves one of the eggs. So it
Mhm.
becomes the mother to one of these eggs. Um, it is really, really, really well done. It's got
Mhm.
a really unique art style. It's got this, it's kind of like a paintbrush kind of thing, like looking like it was painted. What the fuck is going on now? I think it froze again.
I'm still. I don't know if
Oh,
you
you're
hear
still
me
there.
still.
Okay. Okay. There
Yeah.
we go. All right. It froze. I was like, fuck, now what's it doing? Um, and it didn't even give me the warning. So, it's this, it, it's, it's just this beautiful like paintbrush kind of art style where it looks like it was like a drawn, like not hand drawn, like you could tell it was digital, but it looks really cool. I think the way they use color is really interesting. And the strongest thing about this movie is, it's m minimal dialogue, but when the dialogue hits it, it hits very well.
Mhm.
Um, your number two is another horror movie. That was the one that I should have done the other way. What was your number two?
My number two was Long Legs. This one was actually like scary and like had a sense of dread throughout the whole movie, which is part of why I liked it so much. Um, I think this one was also a little bit divisive. The problem with it again is the marketing, where it was like, "This is the scariest movie of
Yeah,
all
I saw
time."
a
Like,
lot of that.
this is the new Silence of the Lambs, like
Yes.
stuff like that. It's like that's such a dumb way to market a movie. Because then you get weird people that are like, they see it and in their reviews like one star, like actually I wasn't scared at all because I'm brave and like I'm not afraid of movies. And I feel like
I'm
people were
late.
trying to brag about it. But it was a really interesting story. It had the only thing it had to deal with Silence of the Lambs was that the main character is a female FBI agent. That is it. There's nothing else like Silence of the Lambs in this movie. It's much more supernatural, like weird. They very early on in the movie, they just established that psychics are real in this universe.
Hmm.
So it's very weird. Nicolas Cage is awesome. He's only in the movie for probably under 10 minutes, so they utilize him very well. And
Right.
he's very strange and very creepy. The gore, it's not the gore's some parts are kind of intense, but the gore's not too crazy. It all filmed in Oregon in the 90s, so it feels very like atmospheric in that way, and
Yeah, I
it's
noticed
based
that in the
out.
trailer too. Like it's got that very like it looks very analog. Like even in the way
Yeah,
it's shot.
and it's just you just start noticing it like they're using overhead projectors, and there's like a picture of Bill Clinton on the wall at like the police station. It's
Mhm.
just like little things like that, and like the cars. So then and you realize it's like, oh, this is in the 90s. Um, but yeah, it's very like the way the story unfolds is very interesting. So I really liked it. I bought it on like 4K, and it has a commentary from the director, so I kind of want to watch it with the commentary. He has another movie coming out this year called something with Monkey, and it's the
Oh,
old
the
the tr
Stephen King one.
yeah, it's based off a Stephen King short story, I think. So those that's usually a good sign. Whenever it's based off a Stephen King book, it's usually a shit show.
Mhm.
But the short stories usually do a little bit better.
Yeah. Um, I saw the trailer for Long Legs quite a bit. Yeah, I'm interested. I may eventually watch it, but I'm not, you know. It looks cool. Like that was one of the things. Like when I saw the trailer, I thought it looked cool.
It does, yeah, it's cool. It's not the gore is nothing like Terrifier 3. Actually, I would say the substance is even a little bit more gory
Hmm.
than Longlegs. It's more like the suggestion of gore.
Yeah.
Um, like a lot of crime scene stuff, and they like describe what happened, but they don't really show you exactly like what's going on.
Right. My number two is Challengers, with
Oh yeah.
Zendaya, Josh
Mm.
O'Connor, and Mike Feist. This is a movie about three terrible people,
Hmm.
all hate themselves and each other, and all constantly fuck. Um, it's a Luca Guadagnino movie, so it's you get what you expect here. The reason it's number one is because I think this movie would be nothing special besides like the acting performances are great and all that. The score is phenomenal.
Hmm.
It is this great, just like synth score by what's his name from Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor.
Trent. So.
Yeah, he it's fantastic. And the other thing is, it has the single best tennis match ever put in a movie. Like the end of the movie, the tennis match between the two of them at the end. It has like the entire the and one of the other things it does really well is it builds up the stakes of this tennis match that should have no stakes at all because it's
Hmm.
just a it's a challenger to to get one of them to get his confidence back, the other one to stay in as a tennis star.
Yeah.
It's really well done. This is it's the movie that makes me very interested in the alleged that may not actually be happening. Luca Guadagnino, American Psycho movie with Austin Butler.
Ah, that'd be good.
Um, but yeah, I'm very interested in that. This is just one of the best movies of the year, if not for the unanimous number one pick.
Actually, with also with Zendaya.
Yeah, Dune Part Two, which came in with a perfect 20. I think it's the first one since we've been doing this that has a perfect score at number one. Dune Part
Wow.
Two, which Megan did not like. Josie did not like.
Mhm.
Because of her job, she doesn't like using her real name. She did not like Dune Part Two. She was very clear about that.
Did you like the first one?
She did not.
Oh, okay, well that makes sense.
She yeah, she was like, I heard the two of you blowing it over on the other one. I was like, yes, we did. Um, but this is when we look back on this movie, I think we're gonna look back on Dune Part Two as two roads kind of diverged and Hollywood took the wrong one
Mhm.
by not doing more movies like Dune.
Yeah.
Because the reason why Dune was a success is not because it's a franchise, not because it's something that could be milked for a million years. It is a singular vision. Not, I hate saying that because filmmaking is a communal,
Mhm.
art form, but it is Denis Villeneuve knew what he wanted to do.
Yeah, so it is like all these other people, but it's like under his
Yeah,
like guidance.
it's his
And
vision.
I think the other big thing is that the movie's not trying to chase something or not trying to like uh go for a trend. It's like he just wanted to make this movie how he wanted to make it.
Right. It's not like they're trying to chase the YA dystopia thing that like
Mhm.
Maze Runner was trying to do after the success
Yeah.
of the Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
This is and the lesson that should have been learned from this movie, and I'm afraid is not going to be the case. The lesson that should have been learned is find a director and a writer who are passionate about something
Yeah.
and let them do what they want to do with it. Like it's just it's a perfect movie.
Mhm. Yeah, and I guess the when that can go too far in the wrong direction is like Christopher Nolan with Tenet, where it's just this like confusing like bloated like movie all under Christopher Nolan.
But you know
But
what? Say what you will, it's his movie.
yeah, that's true. It was like his choice to do those things, and then it just didn't really work out that way.
And look, I shat on Megalopolis early on in this.
Mhm.
I I still have more respect for that
But
than
at
a
least it's
it's
an attempt.
tell he had something he wanted to say. And
Yeah.
I'd rather watch that movie than the milk toast we're making this to try and make money.
Mhm.
Like, if he came in and made The Godfather Part 4 or something like that, like or like even like look at Prey, which is
Mhm.
now next year. There's Predator Badlands because of that, because that movie did so well. It's a Predator movie, but it's this guy doing his version of a Predator movie, not meant to build an entire universe like what was it, The Predator did.
The Predator, yeah, it was definitely better than the Predator.
Yeah. I didn't hate The Predator. Like,
I thought it was funny, but
yeah,
yeah, I guess yeah, it was better than a lot of other that type of action movies. Those
yeah.
types of action movies.
But like Dune Part Two, I think is just it's beautifully shot. It's they the effects are very well done. The effects are
Yeah,
gonna hold up. Um, I think Timothy Chalamet is gonna win an Oscar this year, but not for Dune Part Two. I think he's gonna win it
for
for,
the Bob Dylan one.
but it's gonna be because of Dune Part Two that he gets that.
Yeah,
Because he gets like it's gonna put it in front of people's eyes, his performance across both movies. Um, it's it's everything about it just lands, and I'm just still baffled that people are so confused by this movie.
I know because they did some. I like because it's a movie. You have to expect it will be different from the book. Like I wasn't expecting a one-to-one
Right.
remake. And I think the changes they made were fine and it like made sense within the world because you had to speed things up. Because in that book, the that part of the book, there's like time jumps and like
Yeah.
the I was fine how they did Aaliyah like with
Mhm.
her like telepathically communicating where because you couldn't have seriously like a it'd be very hard to take like a little CGI 1-year-old walking around
Yeah,
talking and
exactly.
stuff.
Like what's her
It
name?
it, it
Twilight.
would have been yeah, it would have been really hard to do that effectively. So I was fine with how they handled that and with Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah. Um, and I'm very interested for 2026 when they do Messiah. I feel like they are going to have to keep in that conversation between Paul and Stilgar to kind of just beat down that Paul's not the good guy. Like, because like I think the
But
movie did a better job of
that's
articulating.
I'm actually afraid of that where I saw him discussing something and I feel like because it's not that he's a bad guy, it's that he doesn't want to do what's necessary to and then he puts himself into this like stagnation. And then that's when the empire starts like crumbling and like all the jihad or not gonna the war or whatever they'll call it goes like out of control and like wrong.
Yeah, they had to change it from Jihad because I think that would have been. And I think it's
That'd
too.
have been
There's a
too
translation error in the movie.
with what?
So when they're getting ready to attack the Emperor, he says, "Long live the fighters." But
Mhm.
because the I forgot what the name of it is, the language of the Fremen is based on it's based in
Chakopsa.
yes, it's based in
Yeah.
Arabic, but it's with like 10,000 years of lingual drift. Um,
Yeah.
you can translate it using modern Arabic. The
Hmm.
actual phrase is martyr,
Oh,
which makes more sense.
yeah. Yeah, especially if they're dying for a cause and stuff.
Yeah. So like this is just a like this is a great movie. This is like when I after I saw it, I was like, this is gonna be the movie of the year. I would just say probably by unanimous consent, and sure enough, it
Yeah.
was. Um,
And Messiah will have the navigators. I thought that was he like kept a lot of restraint. He
yes,
never showed he never showed a navigator. But yeah, Messiah will have navigators and the Telexu and like all the other factions.
yeah, you should watch what's it called? You should watch Prophecy.
Oh yeah, that's on my list. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure you're going to be as gung ho about Prophecy as you are about Dune Part Two because I did not like Prophecy as much.
No, that's it suffers because they base it off of Brian Herbert stuff, so that
Yeah,
automatically drops it down like 20 levels.
yeah, exactly. Um, but now it's time for the other part of the thing we do every year, the movie draft for next year. So just to go over the rules again, which I probably should have done when I was explaining the scoring of the first one. Um, we have a Metacritic scoring bonus. So each of us pick five movies and one alternate in case one of the five gets delayed out of 2025. We pick we get 100 points, 1 to 100 for the Metacritic score and 1 to 100 for the box office score. Now you can get more than 100 if you predict the Metacritic score correctly. If you are within 10, it is a score times 1.25. If you're within 5, it's a score times 1.5. And if you're exact, you get double the points. Um, so that's how we ended up with the scoring for last year's, and that's how we're going to hang carry over into this year. I sent Peter a list of the major releases for next year, and I also cautioned him against picking Avatar
Avatar, yes.
because it is coming out 2 weeks before the end of the year, so it will not break a billion in that time frame, in all likelihood. Um, do you want to go first?
So I forgot to make my movie draft, actually.
I forgot to pick the Metacritic scores. Uh,
Um,
okay, I'll go first then, because I have a feeling
yeah,
that
let
you
me.
won't pick this one. So it's not an unfair thing. My first pick is the live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon.
That is a good one.
Um, I think that that's going to stick to its release date. I think that Disney's going to end up moving their Pixar off there. I think it's going to average in at a 62 on Metacritic as well. And that movie comes out in mid-June.
Mhm. I'll pick the Wicked sequel, actually,
That's probably a smart pick.
because I don't think it will be. I don't think people will be disappointed, but I think this it will do it as well or maybe better than the first one.
Wicked for good. Do you have a Metacritic guess for that? Do you want me to tell you?
68.
You think 68?
Yeah.
All right, I think that's fair.
Because the story, that's when the story just completely falls apart if they keep it like the musical.
Right.
Um, I don't know if this is a spoiler. In the musical, she lives.
I mean, I think it is a spoiler, but it's also a spoiler to a play that's been out for 20 years, so I
20.
don't think it
But in
really.
the book, she dies.
Oh,
It's so stupid. In the
they should
play,
have
it's just
kept
like,
it
oh
then.
yeah, she actually wasn't allergic to water this whole time. It was just a lie.
Look, I feel like that's something that should have been like explained.
In the
Uh,
book, they do. She takes oil baths
uh,
because she can't touch water.
yeah, I feel like that's something that in the movie they address it kind of.
The rain, she like walking in the rain or something.
No, it's like it's about to
Okay.
start raining, and then Michelle Yeoh like throws up an umbrella quick.
Yeah.
I'm like, but how does she know that?
That's in the musical, it's the same thing that she like finds her and she's like, oh, don't touch the rain. It's just very strange because it's like, oh, it's just a weird thing to set up. And then it's like, oh, she actually, it was a trick the whole time because
Yeah.
she never says it.
My number two, Superman.
Damn, that was gonna be my number two.
And I think it's going to be a 75. Here's my issue with Superman. I think it's going to make a lot of money, and I think it's going to be perfectly serviceable. My issue with it is I feel like if if it is the way that it's looking from the trailers, I have bloat concerns the same way I
Mhm.
do for Batman v Superman, the same way I did for what was it for Captain America Civil War, same way I do, anytime you have that many characters that are in play and having to do something, I get concerned the movie can't handle it.
That's it. Just in the trailer, there's a lot of other heroes
And I
that are
think that
just flying around.
the other thing that I think could harm it is watching Creature Commandos, it's very clear that there are certain aspects of the old DCEU that are still canon.
Mhm.
Like Suicide Squad or the Suicide Squad is still
Oh
canon.
yeah.
Do this. So by that token, Suicide Squad, which the Suicide Squad is a sequel to, is canon. So
Yeah.
Batman v Superman is canon to this.
Can't.
Like it's a very weird situation that I don't know if they're gonna ever address properly.
Mhm.
What is your new number two now that I've taken your number two?
Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning.
Hmm.
Because I think those movies I think usually perform very well. And then this one it's supposed to be the last one, maybe. I have no idea, but
Allegedly.
I think that will draw in a lot of people too.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. I was very interested in this movie. What's your Metacritic guess for it?
I think this will be higher. I think I give this one an 80.
Hmm. I think that the one concern I have about this movie
Mhm.
is I think Mission Impossible movies um don't perform as well at the box office. which is why they broke it up into part one, part two, and then they cut part two and
Mhm.
renamed it,
Yeah. Yeah, because they don't want people to think they can't see it, I guess, if
having not
it's
seen the
a
last one.
sequel.
I also
I do
don't
think
know if there's a stunt they're advertising that's quite as big as the other
the
ones.
airplane one. It
Uh,
would be great if this one at the end everyone becomes a Scientologist and then there's like world peace because everyone's a Scientologist now.
um, my number one, now it's number one on the list. I'm just erasing them off my list as I go. My number three is going to be Zootopia 2,
That was my next one.
which I was way less on board for before Moana made that, and Moana 2 was not announced until February, and they didn't have the actors signed until like June, and the movie came out and it's made over $1 billion. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna say this is gonna be a 67 is what I'm gonna guess is my Metacritic for that. But I think it's gonna do very well at the box office, and I
Mhm.
don't think David is gonna kill it, which is what Angel Studios is hoping for.
Is that like David and Goliath?
Yeah, it's a musical, an
Oh
animated
man.
musical adaptation of the story of King David.
And not VeggieTales?
No, it's not VeggieTales.
Oh, I would see it as VeggieTales. Okay, my next one. Oh, Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yes. I was wondering when that was going to come in.
I don't know. I've seen everyone. I hated the last one so much. That's when I made the category for it. But this one,
Well,
I think they're going back to hopefully dinosaurs. We'll see what happens. But I've
oh,
heard
you don't want to see swarms of giant locusts?
no, yeah, I don't want to make the plot to be the government or a company destroying crops with giant bugs. And then all the dinosaurs are contained and there's no issues at all. They're like, all the dinosaurs are released, the world's going to be covered in dinosaurs. And then by the time the next movie starts, they're like, don't worry, we captured all of them. It's actually not a
What's your
problem.
Metacritic guess for that?
This one I think will be lower. I think it's even if it's good, I think it's going to be like a 55.
See, I'm optimistic about this movie. I feel like this feels like not quite as cash grabby because I feel like they're not, this feels like they're trying to right the ship of the franchise.
We'll
So
see.
I'm
Yeah, I hope
optimistic.
so.
I have a feeling that I'm picking your next one again. Fantastic Four First Steps.
I had it on my list, but it was going to be my next one.
Um, because I think steps. I think what here's the thing. This is going to be the last movie of this year for Marvel Studios. They do not have a November movie because Blade got indefinitely delayed. They do not have a movie in 2026 until Avengers Doomsday. This is the last movie before the Avengers movie. It gets the multiplier.
Mhm.
That's like a known, like anytime there's an Avengers movie coming out, the one right before it gets a massive box office multiplier.
Yeah.
This looks, from what we've seen in promotional material so far, I love the retro futurist vibe they're going for. Um, I like the idea of doing the alternate universe version of Galactus and Silver Surfer with Julia Gardner playing Shalabal. I like that idea. And I think there's a non-zero chance Robert Downey Jr. appears, which I think also boosts the box office by quite a bit. That
Mhm.
said, I think we're looking at a 70 Metacritic.
Yeah.
What's your fourth pick?
Paddington in Peru.
Hmm.
People love these Paddington movies. And I think it's gonna have a 90 Metacritic too.
I think it's a good Metacritic pick. I do not think it's a good box office pick because it is opening against
Oh,
Captain America.
Captain America. I
That's
don't know. I feel like I've only even watching football and stuff. They just I thought that the trailer for the Captain America movie was for another TV show on Disney Plus.
the weird thing about it is they're not even acknowledging really the movie, the TV show. Like,
That's what I thought because I remember I was like, didn't they have a TV show? I thought it was just like the next season of that TV show.
yeah, there was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was
Mhm.
not bad. Like that show was not bad. What sunk it was it was shooting during COVID, and the plot line was
Mhm.
about them releasing a pandemic to kill half the population.
No.
So they had to on the fly redo it. So there
Yeah.
are some moments in the show where you're like, you can tell this was done in reshoots. Like this
Mhm.
was not the original plan. But that was the show is pretty good. I think that I think the movie I'm kind of iffy about because it plays into Eternals and it plays into Incredible Hulk, which are two of the lesser performing movies.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm interested, but I think this could fall into Iron Man 2 territory, where
Yeah.
it's like they're building up to the X-Men with this movie. Like that's what this movie is. It's the introduction of adamantium. It's there's a lot of things like that. Um, my last pick, Karate Kid Legends,
Mm.
which is coming out in May, I believe. Um, it is a sequel to Karate Kid. It is also a sequel to Cobra Kai, I believe. I think it's gonna have a 64 Metacritic, but I think it's going to be I think it's gonna do well at the box office. I think it's gonna be the
Mhm.
right level of nostalgia baiting to get older people to show
Yeah.
up in the way that
Like Top Gun.
Top Gun Maverick is what I
Yeah.
was thinking when I picked that one. And what's your last main pick?
28 years later will be my last one. Because I already talked about it a little bit, and I think Alex Garland will do a good job with it.
Yes,
I think the
not directing, he's only
Metacritical,
writing.
that's good. I think he's a good writer,
I
so
think
that'll
Sean
help.
Mendez is not Sean Mendez, Sam Mendez
Oh yeah, no,
is
he's good. Yeah, I think I'll get a 58 as a Metacritic because critics usually don't like those types of movies that much.
right. I think it'll get
And
a
it's
lot.
right in the middle of summer. People love the other ones, and there hasn't
Yeah.
been the new one in a while.
Um, my alternate, Thunderbolts with the asterisk,
Hmm.
which they have not
My,
explained what the asterisk means. I think it just means Avengers. Um, but Thunderbolts, I think the reason why I didn't pick it is a similar reason to Captain America, why I didn't pick Captain America. It is too heavily based in products that people have not seen in a long time or
yeah.
haven't seen in the first place. Because you have three cast members from Black Widow, you have one cast member from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you have one from what was the other one? Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Mhm.
the first Ant-Man and the Wasp, because Ghost is in it. Like, I don't think there's anything there that's going to draw in people.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the best reviewed of the movies from next year with a 75. But I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be that, well received at the box office. And then what is your alternate?
It will my alternate. I just had that word. Oh, Freakier Friday.
I had that on my list, but I didn't.
That's another big nostalgia bait one,
Yeah,
especially if it's in theaters, not just on streaming. I
it
think
is in theaters.
people will definitely go crazy for that
Yeah, I
because
think that
everyone loves Jamie Lee Curtis now. I'm assuming Lindsay Lohan will be in it. She's
she
having
is.
she's a mini comeback, so people will love to see that too.
I think what this is
I don't think it will be good. I think it will. Oh yeah, I think it will have like a 40 Metacritic, maybe
no,
even
I
lower
don't
than
think it's
that.
gonna be good either. I'm not looking forward to it, but I think
Yeah,
it's
I'm not going to see it, but I think a lot of people will.
yeah, I haven't seen the original Freaky Friday in quite some time.
Yeah, I just saw that now they're also making a Now You See Me 3, which
Yes, now
is
you now you three me is
that's
called.
insane.
Yeah.
All those, I think all those movies are so bad.
I didn't hate the first one.
My
It's a
problem is
cool idea.
they're supposed to be magicians and they're doing like these crazy CGI like
Yeah.
magic tricks.
Like, and the thing is too, it's like next year, like there's the new Hunger Games book comes out and the movie comes out the year after. That November slot is very quickly becoming
Mhm.
Lionsgate's like Ace in the Hole slot.
Yeah.
So
Oh
that's,
yeah, the Running Man too.
oh yeah. Who's Coleman Domingo is playing
Yeah.
the host in that.
Yeah, the original Running Man. Oh wait, is that are they doing it at Nazis? No, I'm never. I think a Marathon Man. That's the Nazi one.
No, Running Man is the one with Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that's not that good of a movie also to begin with.
Yeah. Um, do you have any predictions for this year outside of what we've talked about so far?
Hmm. No, I don't think so. Trying to
Uh,
think.
I think we get a Blade release date. That's the only thing I really feel confident about this year. And I think that I think what's end up happening is by the end of the year, Sony's going to have doubled and tripled down on video game movies.
Oh yeah, that's what it seems like they're all in on that.
I
Oh, I
think
just saw there's a possible Matt Stone, Trey Parker musical movie that's going to be coming out, but they haven't released the plot.
Yeah, I don't know if they've shot it even or anything like that. Like that was the thing when I made the list of the movies, I went with things that are like concrete release dates that like they've
Yeah,
been in production.
this
Um
doesn't even have a title, so who knows if it will come out
yeah.
this year.
Um but I think we're starting to get back on track in terms of movies after the shutdowns from COVID
Mhm.
and then the shutdowns from the strikes and all of that. Um but yeah, I think this is a we're looking at a strong year this year for movies. Um Are you going to come back for a Predator Badlands, or are you not going to see that?
I'll probably watch that. Is it going to be in a movie theater or on
It's
Hulu?
it, it's a theater movie
Oh, yeah, no, I'll probably see that. Those can be fun. I also I like the Alien. I don't think the Predator series is good as the Alien series. The new ones are pretty good, but like Predators 2 through 4 are pretty awful.
because like the other one that I think you would like, you might like Sinners.
I don't
Um,
think I've heard of that one either.
it's a vampire movie from Ryan Coogler
Mhm.
with Michael B. Jordan in both leads.
Oh, that is I've heard a thing where it's like best way to get an actor into a movie is just tell them they can play a twins.
Yeah, like that movie looks like it could be good. And then obviously you'll be coming on for Jurassic World, I feel like.
Yeah,
'Cause that is
for good or for bad.
yeah, because that's I have a feeling it'll be for good though. I have a feeling this will be
Hopefully, yeah.
like
I'm gonna temper my expectations, but I have I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping they can do it.
because like, did you see the description of that movie, like what the synopsis is? Do
No.
you want me to tell you? Or you want to go in
Yeah,
blind?
you can tell me because I'll probably watch the trailer and everything
So
too.
what it is it's now years after Dominion, and the dinosaurs have been unable able to acclimate to Earth's climate,
Uh-huh.
current climate. So they're all dying out.
Even though they've been around for 30 or 40 years.
Well, yeah, I mean they're like they can't act, whatever. They can't don't take it apart too much. So what it is you have this team that has to go and track down three of the largest dinosaur species that are
Mhm.
still around and get DNA samples from them.
Mhm.
And that's what the movie is.
That's yeah, that's good. That's almost like the book plot of the second Jurassic Park, which was supposed to be its own like exactly that movie. So hopefully that yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that I think that who's directing it? The guy who did the creator and Rogue One is
Oh, okay, yeah.
it's a good pedigree behind this movie.
Mhm.
Um, but on that note, we will wrap up there for today. And we'll be back with more stuff as it comes. We'll be on a temporary episode hiatus while I get my car repaired. Once I get my car repaired, we'll be back to normal. And
Mhm.
until then, have a great rest of your week.